Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to InHeintzSight episode 77. And I know that if you go on my channel, I have not posted an episode of IHS in over a month. If you guys have been up to date with the channel, I've been doing my live stream podcasts of the Unofficial Steelers podcast with myself, Mark Davison over at Steelers Nation Australia, Daniel J over at State of the Steelers. So I've been doing that since the last time I uploaded a normal video. Now, that doesn't mean that I was just doing that and ignoring. It's just I've had a lot been going on, been busy and stuff like that. So I wanted to come on here and get some content out that I haven't been able to put up myself for quite a little while. And I don't really want to talk about the Steelers on this episode. I don't really want to talk about NFL or anything else. I honestly kind of want to come on here, as you all know, who have been here to the channel. For those who are new, welcome. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirate fan, sadly. And as somebody who is a fan of all Pittsburgh teams, it's just the reality of it. And I kind of just wanted to make a little video here, kind of going over their offseason, asking you guys, have you guys been encouraged by the Pirates offseason? Have you been discouraged? Has it been the same old to you? Do you guys even care? I really don't know. I'm on the very thinnest of the thin ice with this organization, man. We all know the owner has killed the fan base. We all know that. We know the fan base has been divided for the last X amount of years. We know as Pirate fans that it is hard to have any type of belief or hope in this team with the ownership. We know that. Now, we know this team brought in new management about 3 years ago or so. They're entering their 4th year now. And Ben Cherington has acquired some good young talent over those years. But at the end of the day, as we sit here in another offseason in baseball, nothing is being done. Nothing. Now, that's not saying the Pirates haven't done anything, but nothing's being done in the sense of showing your fans you care, showing your fans that it's time for a change. We've been hearing you. We're finally taking our heads out of our ass. There's none of that. I'm surprised Brian Hayes signed an 8-year, 7-year extension, however, 9-year extension, however freaking long it was. But this offseason with the Pirates, I can come on here and crap all over them, rightfully so. I can come on here and just be completely negative. Now, there's going to be a lot of negativity in this episode, of course. I'm also going to point out some positives and some other things to talk about. But as somebody who's been a Pirate fan my whole life, it's just so deflating, dude, because it's the same rotation, right? The Pirates had 3 years of playoffs, right? 2013, 14, and 15. After that, they pretty much tore the team down, and they've been in a rebuilding stage since then, and they brought in new management in 2020, and now that management's entering, I believe it's their 4th season now, their off season with this, and we're not really seeing the growth of the team necessarily. Now, I know it takes a while for some of this young talent to come up, but my point is that, you know what? It's great. Yes, there's some promising young talent right now. You have O'Neal Cruz, who came up this year. You have Roencey Contreras, who came up this year. Those are 2 guys that are exciting to watch. You have Nick Gonzalez, top 5 pick from a couple years ago that will come up eventually. Henry Davis is projected to come up this year, their first overall pick from a couple years ago. Endy Rodriguez, the number 1 prospect, is supposed to come up this season. So yes, so there's some good young talent coming up. But you can't rely on that. You need to go out and add to that group, and they haven't really done that well this offseason once again. And it's just the same thing, that once these young guys come up from the minors into the majors and start making a name for themselves in arbitration, they're under arbitration, and then once they got a couple years left of it, then it's shipped out. We know that. So here's the thing with me. You have all these young prospects, right? You have young talent. You've had a top 3 farm system the last few years. Amazing. Okay, once these guys come up, okay, it'll be exciting. Absolutely it will. But the question is, when that arbitration's up, not saying you can't keep everybody, but when that arbitration is up and everything like that, you got to sign those guys, man. You got to keep those guys here. You can't just freaking bring these guys up and have them play for 6 to 7 years when their arbitration's close to being done, and then good riddance. You got to keep these guys. You got to sign these guys, and then you got to add so you have longevity of success, not maybe a year or two. And that's why, for me, when I look at the Pirates and what they've done in this offseason specifically, it's like, okay, like there's a couple things, like, but still, it's nothing that's going to change anything. So let's look at what they've done so far. They traded for G-Man Choi, Tampa Bay Rays first baseman. We know he's going to probably play some first base, some DH. They signed Carlos Santana, who's about 36 years old. He's bounced around. He's still got some pop in his bat. I think the shift being banned will help hitters like that. And he brings leadership to a young squad. So that's fine. But again, 1-year contract for him, right? It seems like whenever they sign guys in free agency, they're all just freaking 1-year contracts, blah, blah, blah. But still, so it's not me crapping on those moves. I'm not saying that those are bad moves. I'm fine with the Carlos Santana move. I'm fine with the G-Man Choi move. I think the shift being banned will help guys like that. But when I'm saying that it's the same thing, it's the 1-year contracts in free agency. It's not actually finally taking money and putting it where it needs to be, making the splash move. None of that is happening. None of that has happened, and it probably won't. But we look at those two, right? We look at they signed that one reliever. What's his name? Lefty. I believe he's a lefty. Let me see real quick, guys. Give me a second. Should have had this pulled up already. It is what it is. Let's see. Pirates offseason, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so we know they signed Austin Hedges as well. That's not the guy I was thinking of. They signed Austin Hedges, the catcher for the Indians, recently. Doesn't really provide much offensively, but he's a very good defensive catcher. I believe he led the league last year in defensive runs saved. So that's a great thing, especially for a young pitching staff that doesn't go underutilized at all. But you need better, right? And with Endy Rodriguez possibly being up to start the season, maybe Henry Davis coming in this year, that's okay underneath those guys, but you still needed a little help. The Pirates traded for Connor Joe, who's been a guy that's kind of bounced around a couple times. The Pirates, I believe, originally drafted him. He was on the Rockies last year. Didn't really get a lot of playing time. Still a young guy, plays some outfield. So I'm sure they probably view that as having a spot for him, that they might of him vying for a spot in terms of a platoon type thing in the outfield, blah, blah, blah. So they added that. I'm trying to find where's the reliever they signed? I can't remember. I know his name. I can't remember. Where the heck is he? Give me 1 second, guys. Might just have to go on their roster if it's on there. Let me just go to the roster. He should be on there, right? Let me see. Pirates sign reliever. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, Harlan Garcia, however you pronounce his name, they signed him to a 1-year deal for 2.5. They have a club option with for 2024, and then we know they also signed Vince Velasquez to a 1-year deal as well. So I like the reliever signing. He was a guy that had innings with the Giants. He had a little bit over 2 ERA, a lefty reliever. That's definitely something they've needed. And I said going to the offseason, looking at their team last year, going in the offseason, we all could sit here and say they need this, they need that. But grabbing a couple guys for the pen, you needed to capitalize on something for starting pitching. And I said, too, maybe, you need to sign another everyday guy in that lineup. They haven't done that part yet. We know they signed a reliever. I liked this signing. I'm fine with the G-Man Choi and Carlos Santana. I know that those two guys are new. Those two guys will add a little bit of pop in the lineup. Like I said, I think they'll be benefited by the shift being banned as well. But I think just in terms of an outfielder, man, they needed to invest in an outfielder. We know Brian Reynolds requested a trade. Who knows what happens there? But they needed to request an outfielder really for pairing with him. And what they do in that other spot, I don't know. But that's what I would like to see. So far, they traded for G-Man Choi, Carlos Santana. Okay, that's an upgrade you have at first base. I'll take that. G-Man Choi's he's not a free agent after this year, so if he plays well, you still have him with you a little bit. You got those two. You signed Austin Hedges. You needed a catcher, right? You signed Austin Hedges. Doesn't provide much offensively, very strong defensively. He'll help the young pitching staff. That's a good thing within itself. You hope that Endy Rodriguez makes the jump into the majors early on. Henry Davis as well this season. That's fine within itself. You got Hayes at third, Cruz at short. Rodolfo Castro's probably the leading guy to be second base. He had a really strong second half last year. Reynolds is still in your outfield right now, but that's what I mean. I would have liked to see them sign a solidified outfielder to add into that lineup. And right now, the other outfielder spots, we know those are still up for grabs as well. They signed, like I said, the reliever, completely fine with that. Vince Velasquez, I don't understand why the Pirates were hyping this guy as they just signed this ace. He's ass. Vince Velasquez hasn't done anything in his career of notoriety. He haven't even had an under 4.2 ERA throughout his career. So they're probably hoping that he can vie for a rotation spot, maybe a long relief spot. Nothing drastic there. I feel like that signing is just a waste of everybody's time. So really looking at their roster right now, you got Hedges at catcher, possibly Endy Rodriguez with him opening day, Choi, Santana at first, Castro at second, Cruz at short, Hayes at third, Reynolds still in the outfield. You still have Sawinski out there too. Connor Joe, who they traded for, who I know they're going to give an opportunity to. And then they have, I know Jawan Bay's a guy who came up toward the end of this past season. He's a guy that's played some outfield too. But that's what I mean. Like, I really wanted them to see them sign a solidified guy, and they haven't done that. They still need to sign a starting pitcher, dude, because you're starting pitching right now. You're looking at Mitch Keller, Rowenzi Contreras, JT Brubaker still. You're looking at Johan Oviedo, and you're looking at Vince Velasquez. I mean, that's terrible. Rowenzi Contreras is we know last year was his rookie year. He had showed a lot of really good things, and a lot of things as the guy can be a top of the rotation type pitcher. Absolutely. Mitch Keller had a pretty solid year all around last year. JT Brubaker, I know a lot of fans kind of want to see them move on from him. I don't really care to keep investing in him. Maybe he'd even be better if he was moved to the bullpen or something like that. Oviedo, I mean, I don't really see much from him in that. And then Vince Velasquez. So unless I'm missing somebody else, I mean, who else? Let me look at the roster. Like, who else could vie for a starting rotation spot to start the year? I mean, Michael Burrows. I mean, he's one of their more higher end prospects at the AAA level pitching. I mean, he might be a guy that might be able to hop in there at some point this year. Let me see who else that they got. Let's look at their active roster here. All right, so yeah, I mean, Luis Ortiz is another guy too who came up at the end of the year last year, was pretty dominant really throughout his starts. He throws a lot of heat. So he's a guy as well that we know is going to get an opportunity in spring as well. A younger guy. Let's see. Let me click on him. So he's about 23 years old. Let's look at his stats from last year. Last year, he went 0-2 with a 4.50 ERA in 16 innings, 17 strikeouts. So you look at the strikeout numbers through 16, that's pretty good. Like I said, he throws heat. His can I look at his game logs here? Let me see. Yeah. Here we go. See that. Well, anyway, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this stuff to come up. But anyway, he had some really good starts, and he only in four games started 4 games, and honestly, I'd say 3 of those 4 were really good. So very, very small sample size. Going to get an opportunity in the spring to vie as well. But they need to sign somebody on the market. Like, let's look at the starting pitchers that are still on the market here. Now, I know they did say it was reported they had interest in Kyle Gibson, and he went to the Orioles on a 1-year deal. Let's look here. MLB free agents. Let's see who's still out here on the market. Go to pitchers. Because look, when you look at the team right now, okay, go out and get an outfielder, go out, get another starting pitcher in that rotation, go out and get another bullpen arm, please. We'd love to see it. And I would love, and they DFA Diego Castillo today, go out and sign somebody as well to be a utility middle infielder type guy. Go spend some freaking money for once in your life. All right, let's see. Pitchers. Let's look and see who's here. All right. So we're going to go available. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay. So there's not really much to pick from left on the market, but there still is. You got a guy in Anthony Evaldi. You got Michael Wacha, who's kind of resurged his career. Wade Miley's still out there. Mike Minor. I'm not saying that these are pitchers that you commit and give a big contract to, but you need to bring somebody else in, man. You can't. Why would you roll into your season with your projected starting rotation the way you have it? Contreras is a lock. Mitch Keller is a lock. Brubaker, he should be on some thin ice a little bit. Velasquez shouldn't be guaranteed anything. And Luis Ortiz, he's still young, still vying. Priester's not going to make the leap right now. Michael Burrows, he hasn't even pitched in the majors yet. So, I mean, come on. Like, let's see who else there is. I mean, my God, dude. I mean, there's Johnny Cueto. There's freaking, why not bring back Chris Archer? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, Danny Duffy's still out there. Chad Kuhl kind of, I don't know. I mean, he was on the team, but Joe Ross is out there. Like I said, these aren't make or break pitchers or anything like that. It wasn't really that strong of a free agent pitching market anyway to begin with, but it's still, or at least in terms of really what the Pirates could afford, but it's still something. It's still something, give somebody out of that list that you've seen in these last couple years, have their stuff together and invest in them in a couple year deal or something like that. Same with add another bullpen arm, man. Let's look at the outfield. Let's look at the outfield at guys that they can put money toward. Okay. Will Myers is still available. He's 32. He's still available. You have, let's see here. I mean, Corey Dickerson, that time's run its course. Dominic Smith, I mean, he hasn't really done much. I mean, there's not really much of an outfielder selection, but, bring somebody in, man. Bring some veteran type guy in or something like that you can solidify there, and you're not just plugging and playing, multiple other people. You got David Peralta, you got Tommy Pham, Adam Duvall. Why not a guy like Adam Duvall? Will Myers or Adam Duvall are two guys that you could probably plug in there, solidify them, two veteran guys that can bring some leadership experience to a young group, right? And add some pop, right? Add a bat. Because I'm sorry, I don't want to rely on all these guys that could find themselves plugging and playing. I've seen that way too much for too many years. So do something. Do something. Again, it's not like you have a ton of options out here, but something's got to be done. Something's got to be done. And so, and the other thing too is that I really don't care for the excuse of, with the Pirates being a small market. Dude, it doesn't freaking matter. It doesn't matter if they're a small market or not. Every single person, we know, every fan and every analyst and anybody that covers baseball knows the Pirates are a joke and knows that their payroll every year doesn't even meet the average payroll on a freaking roster. You look at teams in small markets in the league. Look at the Tampa Bay Rays, man. Look at the money they've spent. Yes, they've done a good job with their own development, but they make the playoffs almost yearly. They spend money. You look at a team like the Royals back in their World Series days, they've spent money. You look at the St. Louis Cardinals. They're not a big market team either, but they just have a great management and a great, well-ran organization, right? The list goes on. I mean, heck, dude, even the freaking Oakland A's, as bad as they are right now, they spent money. They've spent money during their tenure where they were playoff teams. So there's no excuse for it. It's just the straight ownership. And what I'm saying is nothing new to anybody. But going over their offseason, I mean, it's not impressive. It's still a sleep fest, and it's not enough. Like I said, I'm fine with the G-Man Choi and Carlos Santana signing. That's fine. Jarlin Garcia as a reliever, that's a great add, right? If you want to add a guy in Austin Hedges, You're not going to get much offense, but we know for a young pitching staff that doesn't come underutilized. Sure. And once Andy Rodriguez and Henry Davis come in the majors this year, okay then. But I like with where the Pirates are at, there's a handful of guys there I like. Oneil Cruz is going to be a special player. Brian Hayes needs to get better with his bat, but he's still a promising player. Brian Reynolds, we know, is the team's best player right now. He might not even be there. Roansy Contreras has a lot of promise. David Bednar is one of the best closers in the league. They have another arm or two in the bullpen that, aren't too bad. And Rodolfo Castro had a strong second half at second base last year. And you're going to have some more guys come up this year, but you need to add to that group and bring some of that leadership and bring guys that can produce along with that group, man. You can't just rely on your youth and your young players and stuff like that and just expect to, they'll be better. Or, in year 2 or year 3, okay, yeah, maybe, but you have to add to that. If you want to be a contending team, you got to go out and add, make some trades. So I wanted to come on here, kind of just go over their offseason, put some of my thoughts out there in terms of what I like, what I didn't like, what I still want to see them do. And the things I'm saying for them to do are still things they can more than capably do. I'm not saying the Pirates need to go break the bank on anybody or be unrealistic about anything like that. They can still go sign a starting pitcher to add to the group. They can still add another bullpen arm. They can still go add another bat to the lineup. They can still go add another utility guy in the middle of the infield. Of course they can. Will they? Who knows? But I'm telling you, if Brian Reynolds, also on the topic of Brian Reynolds, if Brian Reynolds gets traded, I mean, dude, anybody watching the Pirate games, the attendance is god awful. It doesn't even look like anybody's at the games. You trade Brian Reynolds, you're just, what's left of the fan base? Really, what is left of the fan base? It's one of those things, man. To me, it's another yawn offseason. They haven't done enough yet. Can that change? Sure. It doesn't mean that I don't like any of the moves that they made. But so far, it's been an underwhelming offseason. It's been really the status quo a little bit. And like I said, sure, there's a couple moves that you look at, you're like, okay, this is fine. Or, you add this to that. But it's not enough. So time will tell, and we'll have to see what happens. Honestly, I'm not even looking forward to the spring. I'm not even looking forward to the season. I'm honestly dreading when it's the point where it's June and July, and baseball's the only thing that's going. I mean, seriously, I'm honestly dreading that. So it's just too bad because this team for a little bit brought a lot of excitement, man, and brought a lot of life back to baseball in the city, the fans. But after that 25th, I'll say after Andrew McCutchen got traded, that half the fan base was gone. Still to this day, never should have traded him. Don't care that he wasn't the same player. He's the face of the freaking franchise. And with an organization like this that doesn't provide a lot for their fans, to trade somebody like that brought excitement and hope back to Pirate baseball, you just trade him like that. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring him back. I'd be for another Andrew McCutchen reunion to end his career with the Pirates, but more needs to be done. Hopefully more is done. And like I said, I like, on top of everything, the Pirates have some good young talent on the roster. They also have some bad talent on the roster. They have some good young talent that's also going to come up this year. But you need to go out and do more and add to that group. You can't just rely on, let them get to year 2, let them get to year 3. No. You need to add to it. And that's something the Pirates have never freaking done for their teams over all these freaking years. So that's what I'm saying. We're sitting in another offseason where not much is being done. And it's just the same old, same old. And it's honestly disappointing because you've heard what the things Ben Cherington has said. You have heard Bob Nutting even came out and said that it's time we freaking put the forks in the ground and do something. Nothing's happened there. They're celebrating having the first pick again. Freaking bunch of losers and losers mentality. Derek Shelton's still the manager. So it's just hard to be a fan still and to support the team. And like I said, they have promising young talent up now and in the future, but you need to add to that, especially to have longevity as a successful team. You need to add and you need to spend, not where you just have 1 year, yay, 1 year of a wild card and then back to the same old, same old. You need to, as these young guys come up, as they're up now, as they're still, as they continue to come up, you need to have guys that are already grounded as well on that roster for them to grow with, to grow together. And that comes with opening up your wallet and doing that and committing to guys and having some longevity as a successful team. So those are my thoughts out there. I'm honestly not even looking forward to it. I hope that there are some moves you look at that still happen. The Pirates do, and you look at and you're like, okay, good. This is stuff that needed to happen. Maybe these are some things that can get you a little excited. This can maybe take the team from here to here. You know, you look at some, like I said, you look at some of the talent they have now. That's good. That's promising. You know, they can take another year leap. You know, some of these other guys you bring in, but that needs to happen. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm excited to see the young talent they have now and guys that can come up this year and stuff like that. But we know how it goes. We know the future never comes. And it's one of those things you have to pay the guys you already have. You have some exciting young talent now. You're going to have some young exciting talent that comes up this year. But open up your wallets, invest in guys to be here to grow along with those players, and you need to pay those other young players that you have when that time comes. If you want longevity, if you want long-term success, that's what you got to do. That's the only way. So I wanted to come on here, talk about their offseason, kind of put my thoughts out there. For anyone that comes across this, if you're a Pirates fan, let me know your thoughts on there, or even those that maybe just like baseball. Let me know if you agree with me or anything like that. But that's episode 77, guys, of InHeintzSight. I hope you all have a good rest of your week, a Merry Christmas. I'm probably not going to upload anything until after the holidays. If you're into, you guys know how it goes down here. As I'm a Steelers fan and Pittsburgh fan, and I talk about a bunch of different sports. If you are a Steelers fan, check out the Unofficial Steelers podcast that rotates on all three of our channels, mine, Mark's, Daniel's. Check that out. If you guys go under my lives, you will see the videos for that specific podcast. So if you're a Steelers fan and you're into Steelers talk and roundtable stuff and everything like that, check it out. It's always good content. But guys, have a good Christmas. Thank you all for your support. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, as we're continuing to try to grow and keep doing our thing, guys. So that's what we're trying to do. But I appreciate each and every one of you, and we will see you later on. Have a good night.